Good evening. Hi, I'm Thomas Taylor. I'm your new superintendent for Montgomery County. It's a pleasure to have you out tonight. I want to say thank you for. Gosh, this microphone feels very loud. And I feel like I've got like a pretty big voice to begin with, and I'm holding it super far away, but it's really sensitive. All right, I'll keep it in check. This is Katrina. She's our ASL interpreter for this evening. If you require ASL interpretation, please come on up front. We would love to make sure we're meeting your needs this evening. I would like to thank you for giving up an hour of your evening. I promise we're going to try and keep it to an hour so that we can get you out of here. You're giving up dinner time or time with your family. And I was wondering if there's any feedback that we could get, maybe turn down the mic a little bit somewhere. Sorry, it's super loud. And I can hear whistling in the background. Sorry about that. Thank you. Oh, that's so much better. I got a few folks from our communications team and from MCPS-TV that are here this evening. And the reason that we've invited them this evening is for accountability. We want to make sure that what we say is being recorded and that we're addressing some of the questions, comments, and concerns. And I want to give you an artifact of this because we had a very similar conversation in Poolsville on Monday night. And I'm going to throw up a website for you to go to where you can check this out. But our conversation, both the video in English and Spanish and the notes that summarize what we talked about, is actually online on that website. And we'll put tonight's conversation also up on that website. Now, here's the good news. There's been some really remarkable consistency in some of the conversations that we've been having and that I've been learning as I reacclimate to Montgomery County. I am so thrilled to be with you. For those of you who don't know me very well or haven't read anything about me, that's fine. It's not really about me. It's about us anyway. I grew up in Montgomery County. I attended Montgomery County schools from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. Montgomery County is a critical part of my upbringing and who I am as a person. MCPS educators led me into education as a career and as a pathway. And they served as mentors for me throughout my entire life. My principal was a principal many times over. My high school principal, that is, was a principal in this community in lots of different ways. And in lots of different schools, and was a critical part of me even attending college in the first place, let alone even going into the principalship and becoming a superintendent. So I am very indebted to this great county for the education that they gave me, and I'm so excited to be back. In many ways, I spent my entire childhood trying to get out of Montgomery County and go and explore, and I did just that, and I spent a very long career in Virginia's schools. And I spent my entire adulthood trying to get back to Montgomery County because it's so great. I do believe in Montgomery County. I think that Montgomery County has a lot to offer, but we've had some tough years. And the pandemic wasn't great. And coming back from the pandemic hasn't been great. And there's a lot of things that we need to tighten up on. So as I'm getting reacclimated to the county and learning about some of our newer schools, and visiting some of our older schools that now have newer buildings, Rockville included. It's great to see a new version of Montgomery County, but also to remember some of the old expectations. And so one of the things that I always have loved about being in Montgomery County and being associated with Montgomery County is that even I could remember this as a child, that Montgomery County has always had high expectations for its school system. Yes? We want our school system to be great. And even better than that, when Montgomery County has seen a need to support the schools, Montgomery County has met that need. That's a wonderful thing. That's something that we should be proud of. There's actually a lot that we can be proud of and a lot I want to talk about tonight that we can be proud of. But of late, we have some real performance challenges. We have some gaps that we need to fill, some practices that we need to change. And that's really what I want to talk about this evening is what I can learn from you. So I have a couple things that I want to share, and then we're going to jump to me stopping talking and you start talking. So if you don't mind and you have a smartphone and you're willing to give us some information about yourself, we'd love for you to sign in. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, I very much care about what you have to say. I think that it does matter, even if it's a hard truth. I am going to ask, however, that you refrain from using specific instances or specific people because, you know, we're not going to talk about specific people and violate privacy and all that jazz. That's not what we're going to do tonight. But we are going to talk about things in general that could be improved and things that could help not just your school or your child's experience, but an entire county. And so giving us a little bit of background information also helps us to track who we're talking to. And even if you don't live in Montgomery County and maybe you just work in Montgomery County, I want to know that too. I also want to make sure that we're being sensitive to hearing many voices and not just voices that we've heard over and over and over again. So I think that there's value in both. So please take a second I'll give you another 5 or 6 seconds. Not so much?
The connectivity is
not connectivity. Do me a favor, take a picture. And yeah, I could see. Yeah, there's a little bit.ly right here. Sorry, I think the connectivity to the Wi-Fi is the challenge, so even the bit.ly will not be great. But there is a bit.ly here.
If you sign in to the MCPS guest on your phone, you should be able to.
Thank you. So if you got Wi-Fi capability on your phone and you can select MCPS guest, that might be great. If not, don't worry about it. If you can, great. If you can't, great. We're going to carry on anyway. There is a bit.ly over here that is https://bit.ly/3b, as in boy, 6LTXK. But if that's not for you, don't worry about it. We're going to move on. Another website that has something that you can't connect to because of the connectivity issues, don't worry about it. We're going to keep moving anyway. Attached to our school system website is a copy of the document that got passed out earlier this evening. It is a copy of my entry plan, but this is the website that also has links to different conversations that we're having, and we're trying to collect all this information. But more than just collect all this information, I want you to be able to see it. And so that you can have some kind of accountability to the things that we talk about, and so that you know that your issue is being elevated or your concern is being elevated and it's a part of the conversation. Better than that is that you also have the opportunity to see what your friends and neighbors are concerned about as well. Because the reality is that my guess is if you have a concern that's been frustrating you or you have an issue that's been frustrating you, you probably have another one, and you probably have another one that you don't even know about because you haven't had time to think about it. And hearing from other folks is another great opportunity. I love events like this for a couple reasons. One, not because I enjoy taking everybody's dinner an hour away, although I really do appreciate you making time for that. But this is another great opportunity to interact with some friends and neighbors that you might not have otherwise normally met. So take a good look around this room for a second. Around this room are people that you may know or that you may not know. But here's the best part, is that at some point this evening, it's a huge missed opportunity if you don't introduce yourself to somebody else in this space and find out what neighborhood they're from, where their kids go to school, and what they're about. Because here's the deal. Just like you, they were motivated to come out at 7 o'clock in the middle of a week to come listen and talk to the superintendent and to learn more about the school system. So you already have something in common. And the fact that you care about your kid's school system and that you want to be around friends and neighbors, that's worth it alone, just that you might meet a new friend tonight. So I hope that that's worth it to you. I think that it's really important to have some kind of philosophical underpinning to the work that I do, and something that helps guide who I am as a leader and how I intend to lead the school system in Montgomery County. And this is all articulated in the plan, so I'm not going to read it to you, but there's a couple of things that I want to lift up. We definitely deal with a lot of constraints and a lot of issues, and to the extent that we can, we need to lift up lots of different voices in our community to make good decisions. And so one of the things that I hope that my leadership brings to Montgomery County is making a concerted effort to hear from lots of different people before making a big decision on a critical issue. And I can think of a situation just this week where we were getting ready to put out this big communication, and I got to tell you, the information in the communication made a lot of sense. It was fantastic, but there was a problem. There was a group of educators that really probably needed to see it first before it went out to the community, because they could have given really critical feedback. And so I hope that my leadership lifts up voices that are appropriate for a situation to hear their ideas and hear their input before going live with a big decision. It is really easy for adults in a kid-focused organization to make decisions that help adults. And I hope that you see an artifact in my leadership that we make decisions that are about our kids and what is going to help them in their situation. And that be a primary driver in what we do. And we're going to have to differentiate some of our approach to do that. The last little tidbit I'll say in this space is that I think that the culture that we have in MCPS and the brand of MCPS is a function of its leadership. And so that really begins and ends with your superintendent, your principals in your schools, the folks that work in leadership and make decisions. And so to that end, my aim is to create a culture that is supportive, that's responsive, that looks at what our kids are experiencing and tries to make their experience great. I think that there's a couple of levers that we pull in public education. Is really just a couple of things that we do that we have control over. The first one is that we make really great memories and experiences for our kids. And I gotta tell you, every educator that I've interacted with in MCPS does this. They inspire kids to do great things as adults because they're making great memories and great experiences. That's pretty phenomenal. The second lever that we get to pull is we create great learning environments. And I gotta tell you, I have some struggles with some of the learning environments in MCPS. We have some really dated school buildings. Not every school is as welcoming as we probably want it to be. We want our schools to be welcoming and inclusive and supportive. We want our kids to grow up to be proud of who they are, where they come from, and we want them to be proud as they become adults. We are in the great adults business, and that's what we do. So to that end, tonight's activity. If you had a chance to fill this out online, that's great. We're definitely taking that feedback. It's kind of like the jump starter for the comments that get posted on our website. If you didn't get a chance to do that online, I hope you find an opportunity to do that. Information is all on that website that's attached to our entry plan. But essentially, what I want to talk about tonight is really these two questions. And this is really an open mic opportunity to, one, give me really good advice and say, hey, new superintendent, you really need to focus on this, this, and this. And then, the second thing, hopefully, is that that we can kind of pull this together and turn this into some actionable things that can actually improve our kids' experience. So the first question is, what's working well in the district and what needs attention? And I mean this in an operational sense. Like, my kid's bus has been on time every day this week. Just kidding, I know that didn't happen. Or they're better than not. For whatever it's worth. Transportation does a good job. Or if we've got any students in the audience, my lunch was amazing. What needs attention? I can tell you a couple of things. One of the things that I experienced the first couple weeks of school, I was pretty disappointed in how our HVAC systems were working in some of our schools. So to me, that was like red flag of attention and something that needs a lot of attention. Academics. What should be done differently to improve our academic outcomes? Because I got to tell you, this is a loaded question. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about this and what you would like to suggest, because I got lots of ideas, but I can also admit that I don't have the corner on the market of good ideas. And I would love to hear what your space is. So I got a couple of things. One, a microphone over here and a microphone over here. And when the Spirit moves you, I'm going to invite you to come on up and give some answers to some of these questions. Share your thoughts, and we're kind of just taking it all in the best that we can. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that I'm not alone this evening. I brought a boss with me. Up here in the third row, you sat up in the front, but not like the front. This is Julie Yang, so I'm going to ask you to stand up. If you haven't met Julie Yang, you should meet Julie Yang this evening. Julie Yang is on the Board of Education, and a lot of people sometimes struggle with, like, what does the Board of Education do versus what does the superintendent do? The Board of Education sets the policy for the school system. They also hear appeals to decisions that get made by school administrators. They have a pretty important function. One of the most important functions that they have is that they supervise the superintendent. So she is one of my bosses, and she is here to hear from the community as well. So it's great when we can stand shoulder to shoulder and listen to things that are going on in our community and take actionable steps after that. The superintendent, on the other hand, I'm like the action arm of the Board of Education, and implement things that are in policy for the board. So, you guys ready? All right. We got 40 or so minutes, so let's jump right in. Yes, go right ahead. We got a handful of folks. Go for it. Yes, sir. You made it first.
Oh, me. Oh, hello. Hi. Yeah, welcome to the county. I've been a Maryland resident for all my life, and I've got my fraternal twin daughters are in Julius West Middle School, and they've gone through the whole Montgomery County school system so far.
So your whole life, no cheating by going to Virginia for 25 years, right?
No cheating, and I was
Okay.
raised actually in Prince George's County. So if you want to talk about their school system, you know,
There you
maybe
go.
over a coffee or a drink. Anyway,
Okay.
just a couple of things. I wrote a piece, and I've done public policy for 40 years, so this is not my first rodeo. And I wrote an analysis a couple of years ago of the proposed non-discriminatory equity and cultural proficiency proposal, which had a lot of good stuff in it, but there's a lot of divisive stuff I found in there, and I've seen in the last 3 years this coming out in the schools. It sounds like you're moving away from some of that well-meaning but divisive DEI stuff, and I want to just say we should be focusing on the kids, as you say, as individuals. And I think that's important. But the other thing I want to say is much more positive. We here in Montgomery County are one of the most prosperous counties, obviously, in the country. Up and down the I-270 corridor, we have 100 of the best biotech companies on earth. Now, in Switzerland, 70% of kids go through an apprenticeship program, not just making copies in an office, but basically learn and earn. Part of their high school is actually working in places like this, which prepare them for the real job market. Often the companies will pay for their further education. It's a really good model. I think in the state we only have something like 5% of our kids in those kind of programs. I understand that the state is expanding this, and that's very, very good. And so I want to urge you to look into that, because this is what's coming in the future. The second thing I'll mention, because I do public policy, especially in technology and the transformational nature of technology in medical and many other areas, the model that we have used for many, many decades and even centuries is going to be outdated quicker than most people understand. There's a lot of good literature on how you transform the education system to robot-proof it and to really make it integrated into what's going to be coming in the next 5 years and 10 years. Challenge-based learning, of course, is one of the big things. You probably are familiar with that. There's a lot of good literature on that. So I want to urge you, and now that since we have someone from the board here, to take a look at that, because this county is in a unique position to be a model for the country for what's going to happen in the next 20 years with transformational technology. And so I just want to urge you, I want to follow up because I'm not just someone who spouts off. I do spout off, okay? But I also follow up with analyses and things like that, which I've been doing for 4 decades. So anyway, welcome, and let's make this county really, really, really great again. Well, it's already great, but greater. Thanks.
So thank you so much. I just want to briefly point out one thing that you said is that we actually do have a very firm equity action plan, and we are not walking back from any of that. And we are heavily focused in making sure that our kids feel welcome, safe, and included in their schools. Yep.
Hi, I'm Jeff Center. I'm a parent. And operationally, I've had both my children have had issues with the school. And I found the process MCPS is running under is say no, say no, say no, and hopefully they can draw the process out long enough so either the problem goes away because they've graduated or moved on, or you go away. You know, I'm at the point where I think the easy solution is just go to court and sue first and ask questions later. On academics, I have 2 children who are like, why do I need to go to school? The academics aren't very rigorous. I can learn much more by watching YouTube or reading books at home and asking questions. And my third question is, I know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'd never heard of Bloom's taxonomy. Could y'all explain that at some point on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those philosophical underpinnings that I think is definitely worth talking about. To educators and people who've done some space learning in psychology, there is definitely categorization of different learning strata, and you know, it's hard to say that one has a priority over another. I don't think that they do. I think that you know, building some knowledge and comprehension may be considered lower level in some regards, but I actually think that they hold equal value even to synthesizing information. But the point with that is that it's very difficult for our kids to learn unless their basic needs are being met. And I hope that this is something that gets reflected in my leadership and my time at MCPS, that I fully acknowledge, understand, and we need to be partners in creating a plan that supports kids in meeting some of those basic needs. And I'll give you an example. When a child is hungry, they cannot learn. When the HVAC doesn't work in a school, there is not learning that day. When a child is distracted so much that they cannot focus on their learning objectives, it makes it very difficult to learn, even when they're not the ones that are distracted. It's distraction happening around them. So it's like you can't even get to the learning space before you tackle the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So that's the principle behind it. I think it's great. We absolutely can add some more context. Thank you, Mr. Center. Go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Taylor. My name is Amy Oram. I'm here to represent my son, who is in MCPS specifically, who was attending the virtual academy the last few years. I believe the Board of Education made a terrible, uninformed decision to close the school back in May. That is not new to you. My 2 questions are this. There was no transition from MCPS, or the transition was pretty terrible over the summer for these kids. So does MCPS plan to follow up with any of those former MBA students to see how their forced transition into in-person learning is going? And also, I want to know if there's anything that we can do to include virtual learning, a fully synchronous program of virtual learning for students who want it, because as you just mentioned, you know, if the kids aren't available for learning because there's distractions or because they don't feel safe in their school. There's been a lot of issues with safety lately, just in the first 3 weeks of school. Can we add virtual learning back into this year's budget, and how can parents participate in this?
Thank you. This year's budget, nope, because we have what we have. Future year's budgets, it should always be a consideration to look at different ways that we can educate our kids and to develop a portfolio of learning options. I think there's a great opportunity at the foot of the state, and I think that there's a lot of state legislators that are excited about the potential of standing up a state school like Virginia has. And I got to tell you, coming from Virginia and having a statewide virtual program that's over 20 years old, they've learned a lot of really valuable lessons, and it's a great tool that kids have accessed. I will say that what we do have for virtual learning right now is limited, and if anything at all, really. And you make a great suggestion about the follow-up, so thanks.
Hi, excuse me, good evening. My name is Tom Eckelmeyer, and I have 2 students in MCPS. Both of them attended the MVA. Let me start by saying I served 21 years in the United States Air Force. I'm now 5 years retired. One of the great things about my Air Force is we had 3 core values: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all you do. Integrity first being doing the right thing even when no one was looking. When they closed the MVA down, the original reasonings were admissions and grades. And I don't know if many of you have seen the Bethesda magazine actually addressed admission and grades recently. It's a great read. I recommend everybody pick up this magazine and read it, how they score MCPS. Because we were told that the MVA students weren't meeting academic or attendance goals, we presented that information to the board because it addressed it otherwise. MVA students were either at state requirements or they were above. Regarding attendance, MVA students were attending as they were appropriately or above. They were doing everything appropriate, and we were still given the reasons as that being one for the closures. Now, service before self. What does that mean? Well, to me, it always meant doing the right thing for the United States Air Force, even if you don't agree with it. Now, I know some members of the board may or may not have agreed with MVA or virtual learning for our students. However, it worked. It was synchronous. It provided a community for some of these needs, or these students' needs, who weren't able to attend in person. They were getting everything they need. Now they're reduced to doing an HHT program, some of which some students are being denied because individuals from the schools are calling the doctors. The doctors themselves are the medical professionals explaining why a student can or cannot attend to get an education. There is not one medical advisor from the school making those approvals. The medical people are from the parents. The schools are just having administrative individuals contact doctors, and then the administrative person is then making the decision that that student cannot attend HHT and must then be in person. That is not putting service above self. That is keeping the service to yourself. And last, excellence in all we do. Earlier you said students deserve access, right? That you also want to have a remarkable learning experience. The students at MVA were getting that. Every single kid was excelling. They go back to that community. They had a community. There is no community in HHT. We are failing these students by not having a virtual academy. Now, I just implore you, sir, I know you're new, so these findings from this report, they don't reflect you in any way, shape, or form, nor should they. This is the cards you were dealt, right? And you're going to try to make the most of it. You're having these engagement meetings, you're having town halls, which we appreciate as families, as MVA families, and I'm sure the rest of these families appreciate your engagement. But we just ask, understanding that this year's budget is set. Can't change that. That's it. If we can really sit down, come together as a community and assist it so we can get the MVA back and implemented for the kids next year that truly do need it. 800 students. That's remarkable. 800 lives were touched. That's all I have, man.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm a little bit taller than the last person that spoke. And I'm also cheating a little. First, I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity for this listening session, although I am a WJ graduate, and I know you went to BCC.
Oh, I thought we were going to be friends.
We're just gonna leave that there. I would implore you to also make sure that you head down to Bethesda So you can hear from the WJ, BCC, Whitman, Churchill families. I know this one got moved out here, but I don't see another one scheduled.
We are actually going to schedule another engagement down there, and I did have a fierce interview with the BCC Tatler today. It is the student newspaper.
Yes.
It was a very rigorous interview.
I wouldn't put it past those student journalists. My name is Hillary. My son goes to Ashburn Elementary School. I also went to Ashburn Elementary School, and I went to Tilden at Charles Woodward. And as I'm standing here in this beautiful auditorium at Rockville High School, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Charles Woodward does not have an auditorium at this time, and Northwood students are going there. And that is something that should probably get addressed relatively soon. My son is in first grade at Ashburn Elementary School. Ashburn Elementary School currently has a population of 866 students, which MCPS projected wouldn't be reached until 2029. So that is here now, but this isn't new to Ashburn Elementary School. In the past 7 years, the Ashburn service area was under a build-a moratorium for 2 years, from 2017 to 2019. And I don't know if you are aware, but the planning board just put out their growth and infrastructure policy proposal, and Ashburn Elementary School is designated a Tier 2 utilization school, meaning it's hit 120% utilization. Don't worry, Mrs. Yang, I'm going to be reaching out to you later today about this. MCPS has been pushing off any planning, money, and construction for a new elementary school in this area. Currently, there are 5 first grade classes with 27 students, a an advanced 4th grade math class that has 36 students. Lunches begin at 10:50 and run to 2:20. There is a serious problem, and it is not the teachers aren't doing their job. The teachers are doing a great job in the school, and the administration is doing the best that they can, but we keep asking this school to do more and more with less and less, and it is time that MCPS and the Board of Education put money in for the new elementary school that would serve this area, or at least look at the boundaries to determine where some schools have been underutilized, and can shift some and maybe do a rebalancing. And I know, like, boundaries, everyone gets really crazy about them, but in the area of Ashburn Elementary School, we have had to add 3 new bus stops to the Amelin new property that has created 300 new housing units. The Ray created another 300, and the Rock Spring area is going to be having at least 1,200 new housing units. So there is a huge problem, and Ashburn is serving this area of commercial properties being converted to residential. And I just want to put a plug out there for anyone who isn't aware. I know there's this attainable housing thing that people have been concerned about, but I would also like you guys to understand that the planning board's growth and infrastructure policy includes a lot of tax changes, which includes changes to the impact fees, and they are even projecting an $800,000 deficit to MCPS due to their impact fee changes. So if you weren't aware of this, I suggest you get on their website. They have all the information available, but this is something that people need to start thinking about, not just thinking about the zoning changes, but about the impact fee changes that are coming.
Yeah, what a great comment. Thank you so much. And let me add some additional context to that. What is the impact tax? What is that? So when there's new development that results in residential impact, meaning that there's more folks that could come to an area, developers and even the communities themselves may have a levy that's associated with them, or a tax associated with them, to offset some of the expense of the growth. Because you may add, say, a housing development or an apartment complex, but you're not feeding into the school that's right next door that's going to be overrun and maybe at 120% capacity. So this is actually a really big issue, and something that a lot of people, unless you're really paying attention, it kind of just goes around and gets approved or doesn't get approved, and not a lot of words are spoken about it, but it has a huge impact on the schools. And so here's how it has an impact on the schools. Not only is it lost revenue to offset the impact of growth on the communities, But any time that there's a big growth project, what it does is it does force a reprioritization of other projects. So even projects that are long overdue in capital improvements and that have been scheduled sometimes get bumped. And that's a huge issue. So not only have you lost the revenue, but you've also lost time. So thank you for elevating that issue. Thanks for bringing that up. It's a really big one.
I have the opposite problem. I had to lower the mic. just put it out there.
We're differentiating for everyone's needs this evening. I like it. Thank you.
So there are 3 of us educators here to talk about different issues where our students need support. So my name is Hillary Jacobson, and I'm a 5th grade special education teacher in the Learning Center at Burning Tree Elementary. This is my 20th year as a special education teacher and 14th year with MCPS. I'm here tonight to speak up on behalf of our students in special education and English language development, whose populations continue to grow while MCPS and the county's support for them has decreased. This year, the support for our students has reduced even more, and it's impacting all of our students. We do not have support across the board on anything we are doing. Special ed teachers have had our physical reading curriculum materials taken away from us and only have online access, while our general education teammates have both. This makes it much harder for us special ed teachers to do our jobs. Where is the equity in this? How are we supposed to follow IEPs and educate our students if we don't have the support to do so? Teachers are unable to support students to the best of our abilities. Many special education students are being moved into general ed classes, but the staff receiving them are not trained in any way on how to support them academically or behaviorally. We've requested training for them, but been told no, we are the specialists. I cannot train my general ed teammates while also planning and instructing my own special education classroom. Central office needs to provide training for staff on best practices for working with students with disabilities. We have a new reading curriculum this year that came with 0 material tailored for special education students. Central office told us in June that this wouldn't happen, but now they tell us it's an unexpected problem that they have no answer for. We are now in week 4 and still have received no support, no resources, and worse, no responsiveness about when we can expect any help. As special ed teachers who are already stretched thin, we have to do the additional work of creating our own materials, which disproportionately impacts our students. We're planning day by day instead of long term because we have to recreate everything on our own, and that's not sustainable or fair to us or our students. We are asking for responsiveness and resources from central office. We desperately need alternate texts, modified or adaptive lessons, and differentiation for leveled readers. This is a priority, and we want it now.
Awesome. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Thank you for elevating that issue. Go ahead, Rachel.
Hi. Okay, I have to go on my
You can
tippy
just
toes.
take it off and
Hi, good
freehand
evening.
it.
My name is Rachel Aladid. I'm a parent of an MCPS student, and I'm a spouse of an MCPS teacher. I took the questions very literally. With
Thank
operations,
you. Appreciate that.
with operations, I wanted to give my child has an IEP, and I have to say, and I don't want to take away from anybody else's experiences, but our experiences with our child's education management team from 2nd grade on has been amazing. Everything that we could have asked for or anything that we advocated for, MCPS provided, maybe with the exception of occupational therapy. That's okay. My frustration with the whole IEP process was because my child was diagnosed with vision processing disorder in 2nd grade, even though we started seeing problems in kindergarten, we could not get the teacher to put in that request. So we felt like our child ended up losing 2 years of education because the teacher was like, oh, all kids until they're about like 8 write their letters backwards or are maybe not up to grade level with reading. And so I felt like we were always at the deep end of the pool treading. And I'm just wondering if there was a way that we could empower teachers or make it easier for parents to insist in grades K through 1, in K through 1 to get those testings earlier, as opposed to midway through second grade. Other than that, the IEP process, even though I cry every year, it has been amazing, and MCPS has done a wonderful job. The other thing I would like is to see if there's some best practices for teachers in implementing them. Like, again, my child has vision processing disorder, and one of the things in her IEP for years was everything needs to be double the print. And we had a third grade teacher going, yes, but it's not going with my aesthetic when I put work on the wall, so my child can't read it, but her aesthetic wasn't ruined. So those are things that I think that could be done better, is making sure that teachers understand that the like things that are not necessarily normal, like vision processing disorder or executive functioning disorders, should, I don't know, there needs to be a way to do that better. And then for academics, my child was also in the immersion program for French, and she speaks beautiful French. But I have noticed over time it's getting harder and harder to hire French teachers because French is not a critical language in the United States. Although as a trade specialist, I just want you to know that there are like 32 French-speaking countries in Africa that we are starting to trade with, so we do need French, but that's not for us. I am wondering if there's a way, I've been reading, where other school districts that have immersion programs, where they're starting to actually have MOAs with French universities or Swiss, Belgium, where you can bring teachers in, because we noticed, especially last year, the teacher was not certified in teaching history in French. And therefore, none of the kids had great grades. All of them were put into remedial history this year, and my child just moved up to honors history. So I'm wondering if there's a way that we could start combating the lack of French-speaking teachers by having MOAs where student teachers can come in and possibly earn a green, or not earn a green card, but we can sponsor more French teachers to come in to improve the French immersion program, especially middle school.
Yeah, thank you, and both topics really important, so thank you for that. I will say that there's something that folks may or may not be aware of. We actually started a very similar program, having some international teachers come to work with us. We have 38 teachers from the Philippines that are sponsored by MCPS on J1 visas, and great opportunity for them and for us, and great cross-cultural opportunity as well, and why we can't expand that to other spaces where there's a natural fit. Great suggestion.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jocelyn Stewart. I am a special educator in the homeschool model program at Flower Valley Elementary, and this is my 31st year in MCPS.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm here tonight to urgently ask for help for our students. Last year, MCPS promised that this new elementary English language arts curriculum would include scaffolded lessons and explicit materials, so we could provide differentiation and help close this literacy gap for our Black and Brown students, those who receive special education and/or English language development services, and those affected by poverty, while also providing resources for students who are on grade level and need enrichment. Amplify CKLA, rolls off the tongue, was selected, but our weakest readers are still waiting for these specialized materials that we were promised, materials that they need for equitable access to the curriculum. CKLA heavily relies on auditory strategies only and fails to provide equal learning opportunities for all our students. No matter how much we consistently teach it, our students' education and then resulting test scores will not improve if the content is not accessible to them. We are asking you to deliver these differentiated materials so we can successfully reach and teach all of our students. If CKLA doesn't in fact have these resources, we are asking you to assign central office staff members to create them with due haste. Without these tools, we're failing to provide equitable access to this critical instruction, and our students are waiting for the education that they were promised.
Thank you. Great job. Gosh, everybody came with like speeches and stuff, and I'm just asking questions about what's working and not, but go for it.
Hi, Dr. Taylor, and hello, Ms. Wang. One of the things that I was curious about, but wasn't exactly what I was going to talk about, was when you went to Poolsville and you earlier tonight mentioned that there seems to be a theme of many of stakeholders and parents having similar concerns. So I'm deeply curious about seeing maybe that compilation at some point.
Yeah, sure. I'll share the top two, because a lot of things resonate with this. And just by show of hands, tell me if you're concerned about this too, because these are concerns that I share. And every conversation that I have with every single board member, these two things get brought up too. School safety, academic performance. Very consistent themes. I can even drill down academic performance to literacy and mathematics specifically. Some of the delays and some of the challenges that some of our special educators have brought up, very real issues. It's good that they're elevating those things. I am not the textbook company, but I have definitely a role and an influence in that, and you absolutely deserve to get what you need to be successful in the classroom. It's no excuse for you not having what you need. Those things do matter. School safety in particular, critically important. I will say that we have had a very good start to the school year. And I'm very proud of our very good start to the school year. Is there room for improvement? Oh yeah, lots of room for improvement. But I'm very proud of some of the momentum that we've built up. There's some early indication that we're moving in the right direction in terms of some of the student behaviors and some of the focus on safety. I find it very troubling when we have things that happen in the community and they're tied to school because of either a student who is involved or a community member tangentially related to the student that's involved. We still have had a rash of some really troubling hate bias things that, candidly, right around the corner from a national election and the anniversary of October 7th worry me. We are making plans for preparation on how we're going to respond to those things and preemptively communicate our expectations, but those things are top of mind. I am very reaffirmed in a couple of things that make me feel really good about where we are in the direction that we're going. Evaluating kind of where we are from a school safety plan perspective has not been what MCPS has done for the last several years. We've done it this year. Checking things like doors and cameras that are basic to security. We've done it this year. I gotta tell you, the best strategy for having a safe learning environment and a safe school doesn't cost a nickel. Does anyone know what it is? Relationships. Great relationships with parents, great relationships with students, great relationships with staff, and when somebody sees something, they say something. Those are the things that lead to the best safe environments, and they lower your probability of having something really adverse happen in your schools. So those are kind of top of mind. Real quick, I'll tell you about the academic thing that makes me really happy. And if you get an opportunity to interact with some of our secondary students, you'll see this really shine, although you can see this in elementary school too. It's really impressive. But you can really see this at the secondary level, and it's wonderful. Highly recommend you interact with a student who's in some type of career and technical education classroom, and then just one of our students that's interacting in the normal general curriculum. When you have a conversation or you see our kids talking to one another, it blows my mind. And it is so encouraging because they are talking to each other about social issues, and they are talking about issues of consequence that deal with their peers, themselves, and their community on a level that when we were kids, we weren't thinking about that sort of thing. It is really, really encouraging, and it makes me really proud of the kids that we're growing into adults. The career and technical education space. I will tell you that one of my favorite classes was a culinary class in high school. My crowning achievement was macaroni and cheese. It got me through college, I gotta tell you, it was pretty good macaroni and cheese. The stuff that the kids are producing today could go on Top Chef. It's so impressive. They're elevated at a level that is so impressive, And the way that they're going about some of these things, they are operating with a precision that would make you really proud of what they've got going on. So even though we have some pain points, and we do have some very real pain points and some very wide gaps, we also have some really stunning successes, and we've come a long way in a short period of time. And it's thanks to really great educators and this community that really bands together to support its kids and rally around them. So, thanks. You were going to say what you wanted to say too, not just ask that question, I'm sure.
No, well, so that was actually
That
spot
works.
on. It ties in. I was going to re-quote your last, one of the slides. It said, all things begin and end with the culture that leadership creates. So for me, the personal part comes with, well, first I can actually already sense a tone of that there's the leadership that you just, is on that slide. And I personally have experienced with our daughters, I have 2 daughters, elementary school, strong leadership in the principal, and our daughters middle and high school right now. And I've also done some things on both PTAs, my elementary and middle. So the leadership, you do see that, and it sets a complete tone, and the way that you are listening to all of us already is lowering the, tension. So for me, circling to my broader point, would be a question with the overarching concept of mental health. I felt like for my girls, I didn't grow up with much, and my husband and I put a lot into our girls' early education, which was Montessori. And I felt like I learned as much from the teachers about parenting and grace and courtesy, which is Dr. Maria Montessori's big thing. And so with that, we poured everything that we could into these 2 girls' foundation. And prior to the pandemic, things were just, going along the way we all would have wanted. Now, I believe that there are pendulum swings when it comes to certain things, and I do think that with my daughters, there were, I want to switch tact, and what I really want to ask you about is what you think about having phones similar to Governor Youngkin of Virginia. I know that it may have been more of like a governor decision, but I just think that for my girls' mental health, similar to the story that you're telling about kids who get super invested in their trade that they're learning, anything like that, it's amazing when they can focus singularly on that and not as much on the phones. And I have heard some educators just kind of pleading for a phone policy. I have more to say about mental health, but I'm going to yield my time.
Thank you. And I think we're going to switch to lightning round here soon and truncate some things so that folks can have a chance to say something. Real quick on phones. The board has committed to taking up the issue of cell phones in the classroom and has started by doing a couple of things. And Rockville's a great example because this is one of the sites where we're looking at how we might address student use of cell phones during school time. And we have lots of different schools throughout the county that are trying different strategies, and that's the right thing to do, is to look at what might be a good fit for a system-wide approach to cell phones. Now, I need to give you a heads up about a couple of things. I came from a district that banned cell phones long before a governor told them to, and it met with some mixed success. It was a pretty bumpy road at first, honestly. It didn't go very well at first, but eventually it smoothed out and it improved the learning environment for a whole host of reasons. If you have some time and you like reading nonfiction, I highly recommend a book called The Anxious Generation. And I don't know why the author's escaping me at this time, but it's worth a Google. Jonathan Haidt, thank you, yes. I couldn't remember it for the life of me. Great book, and definitely taps into a number of things. One of the things I found really interesting is the change in brain chemistry from some of our kids in terms, almost like an addictive nature to some of the things that they're experiencing on their phones. And it's very problematic for a whole host of reasons. Now, here's part of the other issue that we need to think about too in this issue. Even if we banned phones at school or restricted phone use at school, there's like 16 other hours in the day where they have access to them. And I will tell you, as a former high school administrator and principal, a lot of the stuff that happens on the phones happens outside of school and comes into school. So before anyone jumps to conclusions like, this is the silver bullet, it's gonna solve everything, I promise you that this is not a panacea to solving all of our issues or concerns. That this is not one of those things where it's like you can flip a switch on a Monday and say, no more phones, and then on Tuesday everything is better. That's not how that's gonna go. Doesn't mean don't do it, it just means take everything advisedly and to understand what some of the goals might be, what some of the realistic outcomes might be, and how we might better manage that. Okay, we're closing in on the end here. And I do want to honor time, but I do also want to give everybody an opportunity to say something. So if you're standing up right now and you're in a line, you can get a chance to say something. And if you missed an opportunity to say something tonight, I do want you to send me a comment anyway. You can either shoot me an email or you can do this. I'm not promising to answer your email within 1 or 2 business days. That's not going to happen. I'm like 800 emails behind from the first week of school, but I will answer you eventually. Don't worry. It just might take some time. So if we could switch to lightning comments. Lightning comments. Go for it.
Hi, Dr. Taylor. This is my 35th year with MCPS.
Thank you for sticking out with us.
What is working well is teachers so excited to come to school. We're excited to be with your kids, and we're excited to do our best. Since 2018, we've had an increase of special ed children from 17,000 to 22,000. During that time, programs such as the Darntown Center have been closed. And what has happened is significantly impacted children have come to the homeschools and learning centers. So what's needed is education for those teachers who need to learn how to work with children with more challenges at school. So as we've said before, the adaptive materials are helpful, training is helpful. These things also help our 18% of ESOL students who also rely on these adaptive materials to make those bridges as they're trying to learn. Last year I worked with several nonverbal autistic children, and I was not able to get the resources that are available at the Autism Center where they had materials to test nonverbal autistic children. So as an operations standpoint, we need to really put our special ed kids hopefully at the center of your budget and your priority. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Lightning round. I love it. Thank you. Great job.
Hi. Thanks for holding this session. I have 2 quick comments. So one is that, so my older son graduated from Rockville last year, and my younger son is in 10th grade at Rockville. And with both of them, there's been, I've noticed a distinct lack of course choice. Rockville is the smallest high school in the district, and I believe that does contribute to fewer choices of courses in general and in electives in particular. And my younger son started Spanish in middle school and then wanted to switch languages. The only other choice here is French. Many other schools in the district have other choices of languages, and I really urge you to figure out other options that can be presented to students at small schools like Rockville, so they have other choices. My older son ended up going to school in Europe, but he would have enjoyed options other than Spanish and French to choose from, and ASL is also an option here, I shouldn't forget. So I think that I'd urge you to explore other options so that students at Rockville have additional choices.
Awesome.
And my other quick point is that, as I said, my younger son is in 10th grade at Rockville, and through his education and his older brother's education, I've really been disappointed in the lack of rigorous expectations and the small number of books that they've been assigned to read. The rigor does increase in AP courses, but most of those are not offered until 11th and 12th grade.
Right.
And so I urge you to raise the expectations for the students who have the capability to go higher. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Hey, great educators, high expectations, and high quality curriculum materials. That's a recipe for successful outcomes. I love it. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Great lightning round. Yes.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. My name is Scott Sheridan. I have a young one at Bayard Ruston Elementary, which isn't too far from here. In your literature and in your discussions, you talked about Maslow's needs. Many of us are very blessed with not even thinking about these needs, but I think one of the primary focuses and really important consideration is safety in the school. And there's been increasing awareness of some misconduct in schools, and we're just seeing if this is a priority of yours and whether you have mechanisms in place to adequately discover these things and take care of matters concerning this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just really quickly, I'll opine on this and just tell you it's not a priority, it's the priority. I can tell you our kids can't learn unless they feel safe. So even if they are perfectly safe, unless they feel safe, they're also not going to be able to learn. Our staff can't teach unless they're safe. It's a part of our reality. I think we've already gotten the ball rolling on a handful of things that I think will improve in that space over time. MCPS is a big organization, and there's no overnight anything in MCPS. But I would say that the amount of movement in the 10 weeks that I've been here has been extraordinary. And I would say it definitely lays a footprint for us having greater continuity between the safety in one school and the safety in the next. And that's something that I know we're all striving for. Thanks. Hey, good to see you again.
Hello. My name is Anna Paff. I am a parent of 4 MCPS students, but I also serve Rockville as their PTSA president. So I have...
And host of Rockville Day.
Oh, and host of Rockville Day, absolutely. Yeah. I have 4 quick things for Rockville and for our schools in general to reassess adequate staffing, make sure that we have enough assistant principals, enough special education teachers, enough teachers in the classroom, and enough paras to make sure that we can adequately meet everyone's needs. At Rockville specifically, we need another assistant principal. We are one of the only schools in high schools that only have 3, but yet we have 4 grades.
Yeah.
Our co-special education director is one of the most phenomenal men you've ever met in your life. He knows every single one of his students, and he is phenomenal. But he manages 65 staff members.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. And that's a lot on him, but that's a lot on our teachers, and it's a lot on our students. He needs help, and our staff need to make sure that they're given the adequate tools to be the best educators that they can. This one's a little wacky, and no one's brought this up. But as a PTA president or a parent leader, I would ask that you review our fundraising policies.
Okay.
While we are one
that's
of the...
new.
Yeah?
You're right.
Yeah.
That's new. Hadn't heard that one yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a zinger.
Yeah.
One of the largest school districts in the country, we're continuing to told we don't have enough money.
Yeah.
We just don't. We don't have enough money. But we're also continue to be told that we can't get the money. There are things that we are not allowed to do as MCP, that's under the guise of MCPS, that if we were to review our fundraising policies, we might be able to bring more money into our county. For example, all of our scoreboards, why can't Coca-Cola sponsor them? Coca-Cola can sponsor them in other states. If they sponsored them, they'd pay for them, which we need those things. May not be a safety concern, but there are other things that we could work with grants and other opportunities. When we look at equitability, we kind of go into 3 different areas. We have our, what we call W schools, that have plenty of parent financial support. It's not easy. They don't necessarily always have the same volunteers that they need. They go through struggles as well, but they have plenty of finances. You get a school like Rockville, who we are basically broke into 2 different schools. We have the haves and we have the have-nots, and we struggle at raising funds. Then you have the schools that are like the Down County Consortium that they don't have parent support or money.
Right.
And if we were able to review the policy, we might be able to come up with common sense ways that we can say yes more to our parents and yes more to the staff that are willing to dig in so that we can get more money in our school for the things that our children deserve.
Casino night is still out. Sorry.
Not for the PTA.
Oh, touche. Yeah, I like it. All right.
And then another one is safety concerns. First of all, vaping detectors, but also vape education and marijuana education. And this needs to happen as early as 5th grade or sooner. If we stop them before they start, we make an impact. Accessibility to communication. To me, this is a better cell service. Cell towers were talked about a little bit, and then they went away. Cell towers serve two purposes. One, it helps our staff in emergency situations. Two, they want to be here and they want to give us money. It helps. And the last one is updated communication policies and accessibility. We had an incident here last year of a bomb threat. And our staff were not able to get into communication with central office to be able to send out a communication to our parents that our students were okay. And it was because they were trying to be safe themselves outside of the building. But if you don't walk across the street, you can't send a phone call. And with that, if we had the accessibility with cell phones, not for our children to use, but for our staff, the only way we were able to get communication out was through PTA. So if you don't have that, a strong PTA effort, or you don't have parents connected, that was a fail on our part when we didn't have to be. The last one is infrastructure. Wood Middle School is where 3 of my children went. They are half the square footage of Rockville High School. They had a survey done in 2010, and they have never been talked to about since. Oof. Half the size, square footage. You walk in there and you are a sardine. That is also a safety issue, because if those kids are trying to leave, they do not have doors in their classrooms, that is a trample experience. And it needs to be looked at. I know that we don't have a lot of funds. We got to look at it. How can we get more? That's right. Thank you so much for coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good stuff.
Hi, Sean Dace, Cheatney, Bethesda, Chevy Chase. I'll try to be quick. Following up on safety, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which was mentioned, it was apparently of note to you,
yep.
And to recent incidences at the high school. And I mention it. I've 10th and 12th right now. You know, the game this weekend. A student friend taken in and jumped in the bathroom. You know, of course I got in the detail. What does that mean, jumped? But, 4 people, and kicking and punching on the ground until they're out. So that, and then I think the other one was another student coming in, jumping somebody in the classroom, literally people going in and pummeling the person in front of the teacher and videoing it, and then sending the video around. So these are and then post-COVID, just the violence that has happened post-COVID. So what I'm doing here is bringing the mechanisms, so encouraging or recommending a couple solutions, which would be integrating mental health and communication skills into our expanded now year-long health curriculum. Mm-hmm. And my recommendations would be peace literacy. Paul Chappell, I see somebody taking notes, and I'll certainly send this through your form. And then our own family resource center, just basic, otherwise you're having responses from parents that want to and my husband want to kick the kids out, right? Because you're so upset, and really where did they learn this violence or this response to emotions that they're feeling? And anyway, just feel that our public education system could insert themselves in a stronger way in helping. Yep. The peace literacy also addresses kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs beyond that, beyond meeting physical needs. What are the other needs, the non-physical needs that people have?
Social needs,
and
emotional
children
needs, absolutely.
Having meaning, and so thank you.
I love it. Fantastic. That's great. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Avery. I have a 10th grader here at Rockville. I have an 8th grader at Earl B. Wood. And continuing the theme of safety, I want to talk about some gaps in our anti-bullying policies.
Great.
So, and I come to this in an unusual position. When my older son was in elementary school, he was a bully. It was immensely distressing to everyone, not least to my husband and myself. And helping him become the mensch he is now took an enormous amount of work. I sympathize with the parents of bullies in a way that I never expected to before I had a kid who was the problem kid. But right now, my 8th grader doesn't feel safe at school. And he's not safe at school. He hasn't been safe at school since the first day he arrived there in 6th grade. And I'm not in the room with the administrators, so I don't know what they have or haven't done or tried or felt. Right. But I can say that it hasn't worked. It has not worked. There are bias incidents multiple times a day, every single day. And I think some of the patterns that I've observed with the bias that my kid encounters probably carry over to many kinds of bias-related bullying. The big problem that I run into anytime I'm trying to talk to the school staff folks is, it's a first offense. And so all we can do, our hands are tied, all we can do is call the parents. Okay, it's a first offense for that kid. It's not the first time my kid has been exposed to that slur. Right. And kids have brought into the school one of the things that people have learned from the internet, which is how to run really quite large and sophisticated, coordinated harassment campaigns. If every kid knows that, like, it's my first offense, all that's gonna happen is a phone call to my parents, and you've got 50 kids who feel like getting in on the action, that's a very different experience for the recipient than the administrator looking at each kid separately in their own little silo. And we've only once had violence, for which I'm enormously grateful to the universe, but I don't know that that's going to continue to be the case. I am delighted with your description of the mission of MCPS to be in the business of helping kids become great adults. A culture of impunity, which is the culture that our leadership currently has given us, is not a culture that produces great adults. And I can say that as somebody who struggled to get a bully to be something else. I don't know what the best solution would be or what the range of good practices would be, but I know what we have is not it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Emily Brown of Gaithersburg. Pardon me for just reading, but I can go more quickly that way. So my children attend Washington Grove Elementary School, and I'm here tonight because I want my kids to get a full day of meaningful education. Right now it feels like they're getting half a day of education. They go to a dual language school where half the day is taught in a language that they don't understand, and I see value in learning another language, but at what cost? Their core subjects are being taught in a language that they don't understand even after participating in the program for 3 years so far. Unfortunately, the other language has never been taught to them as a subject in and of itself, so that's contributed to making it difficult for them to follow along. So my kids sit in class trying to follow along but not succeeding, and this goes on for half of their day. What else could they be learning during that time? And what I would like to see is for all students to have the ability to opt out of this program or a program like this if it doesn't fit, if it's not a good fit for them. And for my particular children, we have another issue at play, and it's that this program has hindered their ability to learn our family's other language. So our kids can't communicate with their own grandparents, but we can't very well immerse them in that language at home because they're overwhelmed by trying to follow along in the other language all day long. Or not all day, half of the day. And then another concerning thing has happened very recently. My kids have just started 4th grade, and one of them has now started losing recess because he can't finish his in-class assignments in the other language, the writing assignments, in the time that's allotted because he has to stop and look up most of the words in the other language. So that's very concerning to me.
Thank you for the suggestion about the opt-out. That's a good suggestion. Thank you so much.
I have 4 small concerns here. Well, maybe not the first one, but as a senior here at Rockville High School, I feel like for college resources, I don't feel like I get enough information at school, and I'm like really lazy after school, and like the only resources here are like workshops after school, and I like sleeping after school. Actually, I missed a workshop at financial aid here because I think I misread it as like 6 p.m. Well, it was at like 5:30. As for my second concern, I really hate the surveys here. They're tedious, and I feel like they could be summarized in a concise manner. And as a student who needs to get her work done, I need the time to do assignments, not the stupid surveys. Also, as 2 parents mentioned about online school and engagement, I'm just a really big fan of Blooket. I love Blooket. It's like better Kahoot, and it's like a question-based thing, and there's multiple game modes which are competitive, and I think it helps with retention a lot because of the competitive nature. There's like business management simulators, and because you want to win, you can like memorize the answers easier because like some of the scenarios are really, really petty, like hacking people's stuff to get their gold, swapping their gold. It's like really, really, really high stakes, and I think the stress really helps. For number 4, this is the smallest one, but I think it's very, very important. You guys blocked the slideshow template sites, and I want to make pretty slideshows for my clubs, and you blocked it for only the students. I don't know why.
Thank you. We'll have to take a look at those slideshow sites, and you might be alone on the competitive gaming stress as a good thing.
Hi, I'm Tony Tubiolo. I've got a freshman son here at Rockville High School and a 7th grader at Wood Middle School. Thanks for doing this listening session. It seems like people appreciate it. So question is, do central office staff do listening sessions? And if not, when are they gonna start doing them? Because it sounds like I've heard a theme of some issues with the central office, and the sooner that people, families, and educators can start having open dialogue with them, the sooner some of those issues can be resolved.
Yeah. So I'm central office. No, and I'm the emissary for central office. Mm-hmm. And the way that that MCPS is an organization, and we've had a lot of work to do in this space, and a number of different spaces too. We have 211 units that operate as kind of their own entity, their own little fiefdom, and Rockville High School is one, Wood Middle School is another, and that makes up our portfolio of schools, 211 of them. And in a perfect world, they have a lot of autonomy to make good decisions about what works best for their school and their community. In a perfect world, I also think that they are connected to a system that provides a couple of things. The system provides continuity, expectations, a rule book that provides some consistency between schools so that the experience isn't wildly different from one corner of the county to the other. I will say I think that that's an area that we struggle with, honestly. You know, your experience at Winston Churchill High School should not be dramatically different than the experience at Gaithersburg High School or Damascus High School or Edison. You know, you should have some consistency and some set of expectations that are true to form. I think we have a lot of work to do in a couple of things. And as the representative from central office who directs that work and coordinates those services, I have to have a lot of help because we are a big organization, 25,000 employees, full-time employees, about 33,000 total employees, pretty significant, serving those 211 schools. What is the most efficient way we can provide that continuity, that brand commitment, so to speak, that yes, this school is this school, but it's also a part of the MCPS brand, is deciding what services need to be centralized and what services need to be at the schools. Now I'm gonna tip my hand a little bit here, and I'm gonna tell you that the more things that we put in schools, the better the schools are. The bottom line. So when support is put in the school setting, the better the outcomes tend to be. So it does call on us to be really concrete about what are the things that we can't do well at the school level that we need to do well centrally. I'll give you some examples. Payroll. We get people paid on time, for the most part. That's really important.
My wife's a teacher, so I know.
Yeah, so like that's really important. Making sure that you have a finance department that's managing some of that back end stuff. Those are quiet people who do a great job and do a great customer service for a large group of people. That's really important. I would like to think procurement of materials and supplies, if it's done right, can be done really well on a large scale and then pushed out to schools. Our food and nutrition services is a perfect example of what that looks like when it's done really well. Because they have a facility where they take all of the school system's groceries and then make sure that each school has what they need for each week's worth of meals, right? We could be doing the same thing with instructional materials and make sure that that's amazing. So I think that that's a space for us to develop. I will say that one of the challenges of having kind of some rocky times, whether it be through the pandemic or a leadership change or something like that, is that the emphasis ends up on the wrong syllable sometimes. So we've got a lot of mispronounced syllables that we've got to correct. And I'm hoping to bring some stability to that conversation. So,
Okay.
Thanks.
Maybe some department by department listening sessions.
Yeah, I think that makes some good sense. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Taylor. Hi, MCPS family. I'm Vivian Green. And
I love that you just called everybody MCPS family. Thank you for doing
well, I'll
that.
tell you why, because I was born in Montgomery County. I went to Montgomery County Public Schools. I'm married to a guy over there who was born in Montgomery County and raised in Montgomery County schools. So we are very, very involved in our county. We are part of this county. What's working great is that we have families that care. We have hardworking families. We have a diverse community. All of those things make us so special and so amazing. But also, aside from having 3 children in MCPS, I, like my sisters over here, am a special education teacher since 1997. I don't know how many years that is. I lost count. But my point is, what we have going on for us that's working really well is that we have amazing, hardworking, dedicated, caring teachers. And I know this because I work alongside them every day, way past our duty day.
Yep.
I also know that we have amazing parents, families, caregivers, grandparents, aunts, uncles who are highly, highly involved in the lives of our kids. And that is what we have going for us. We are all on the same boat with the same goal, right? And we all want to reach it differently, but the goal is the same. And my wish and our do better for us is that we have more time and more opportunities for this. I've been asking for central office, for the board, send a couple of people at lunchtime, come eat with us, talk to us, because I was so happy when you said at the beginning of this that you missed the opportunity to speak with teachers before rolling out certain things. Because oftentimes we feel unheard and we feel unimportant. But I know that's not true, because without us, we can't run these schools. So what I would like to propose for a do better is more of these.
but on a smaller scale so everyone can be heard. And for those of us that are in our individual schools, for us to go into our schools, parents, we need your support so badly. I cannot say that enough. And I need us to work together. When you come into the school, if you have an issue with a teacher, please don't take it personally. Please don't make it personal at first, okay? It may be, I don't know. But prior to that, please let us work together, have that open communication. Bane of our existence, those caseloads, right? And how do we take care of that in our classrooms? I love being a special ed teacher and have never strayed from it because of those caseloads. Not because of the paperwork, but because of the connections that I am made to have by law with the families. I cannot service and teach my children if I don't know those families and I care about those families. And even if we differ on opinion, and even if we differ on how to get to places, we work together because we know that we have the same goal, which is to do better for our kids. That's what all of us have in common. So I need us, in order for public education to go on, because I am feeling the pain of not being able to recommend this job to other kids. I am feeling the pain of seeing my hardworking coworkers leave a job that they used to love. Not because they don't love teaching, but because what we're asked to do is so beyond, and I'm tired of feeling guilty when I don't have time for my own children. So please, for all of our sakes, I would love it if you could just take the time to go into your schools, get to know your teachers, understand, and for us to get to know our parents and not be so judgmental right away, right? The communication. So if we could please just send some people from central office, from the board, meet us, talk to everybody, get us all together in small groups and solve our individual problems because they're not always the same from school to school. Thank you.
Great job. Great job. All right, take us home.
Good evening, Dr. Taylor. Good evening, everyone. Last time I was here, I introduced myself to you. My name is Andrea McDonald. I am a parent with 3 children, all of whom have special needs, one of whom has a physical disability. I moved to Montgomery County from New York City intentionally for your school district. I had an option to go anywhere in the state of Maryland, and when I came down to the top 3 choices, the discernment that I made and the decision that I ultimately made to come to Montgomery County was in the fact that, based on the data that was available, Montgomery County had the widest cast of a net for special education students in terms of resources. And I can stand here and I can look you in your eyes and I can say this. The disappointment to date is ripe and it continues to grow. To the tune where my family is saying, in 6 months' time, if this does not improve, we're leaving. Period, end of that discussion. I say that to say, the people at the top, my children all have IEPs. They have forgotten the I in that acronym, and they have missed the opportunities to meet every child where they are. And that's beyond disappointing. As a parent, every time I hear or I see an email or I get a phone call, hey, we need to meet. Lord, take me now. I just can't. Because when you get into those meetings, and I would like to consider myself, and I'm not tooting my own horn here when I say I would like to believe that I am of enough intelligence to be able to follow along, connect the dots. I am fluent in the English language, written, speaking, spoken, all of those things. So I can follow along with what's happening in my children's IEP meetings without needing further explanation. But the level of condescension, dismissiveness, take what we give you or get nothing. It's beyond what your wildest imagination will take you to. As a parent, it hurts me when, let me back up for a second. I understand that my child may have 100 needs, And realistically, you're not able to meet all of those needs. That's reality, no matter how you twist it or turn it, right? Now, if we identify 10 of the most important needs, how can we work to meet it? If the conversation, when the parent is asking, how can we work to meet this, they're met with, nope, we're not doing that, we're not doing that, we're not doing that, we're gonna give you this, that, and that, oh, no, you know what, never mind, not that. And then when the avenues of redress is to go ahead and call this person, that's the supervisor, or call that person, and when you reach out to that office, and then you're passed around to say, go here, go there, and for a district representative to phone you back to say, the only reason I'm calling you back today was because I was of the impression. I thought that was your civic responsibility based on your job title to call me back. As a parent, I am still awaiting a phone call back from 2022, 2023 school year. And I have seen that person on many platforms. So multiply that times 3, where whatever it is that came from that IEP meeting, that habitude and attitude is now brought into this other child's IEP meeting. And then it spills over into the other child's IEP meeting. And I am the person who's taking all of the floggings from everyone. And similar to those parents who have experienced the bullying, I am the parent who felt bullied simply because I expressed dissatisfaction or disagreement with. What is the point of having an IEP meeting where we're supposed to be team? And last I checked, the law says that the parent is paramount to that team. It also says that the child, regardless of age, is a part of that team, and when they're 14, they can opt into that meeting. So when I'm following all of the connecting dots, but then I'm being told this has been proscribed for you, this is what the team discussed, well, I wasn't there. I'm a part of the team. I don't agree with it. Well, you have due process rights. There's no conversation beyond that. That's the caveat that I'll take from that aspect. And when I look around the room and I listen to people's conversations, like, wow, okay, this is a theme. And you being the person that represents central office, when I phone over to say, may I speak with Dr. Taylor, please? Well, who's this calling? This is Andrea McDonald. Well, what's this about? And then you tell them it's pertaining my children. Well, what about your children? And then you give them a little bit. Oh, well, let me transfer you over to this person. But I didn't want to speak to that person because the directory tells you this person's phone number. Had I intended on speaking with that person, I would have phoned over there. But Dr. Taylor said, let's email him. I have, you know what? I might not get a response because he's busy dealing with this, that, and that. So you sit there and you wallow in what? Nothingness, because you came to a school district with the assumption, and I spoke to people in this school district who gave me raving reviews, and I'm speaking administrators, this is what the program looks like, this is what we have to offer, and then you get here, oh yeah, sorry. So my other question then goes, and I'm not, my children have a plethora of things working against them medically. They have never, as school-age children or otherwise, attended an in-person. So they were a part of the virtual academy, which is now defunct. I was witness to your last meeting where you spoke of your blended learning that's anticipating. The question is, will that criteria for that be the same as the one for HHT, and will it provide more synchronous instruction than what HHT currently offers? Those are my questions. Thank you.
First things first, I'm so sorry that you're having the experience that you're having, and I think it speaks to a couple of challenges that we're facing that we need to address, and making sure that we have some kind of expectations for continuity and how you should be served. So you have my apologies. I'm sorry that you've gone through that experience. It's not what anybody should be going through. And I got to tell you that I don't have a great term for this yet. I'm looking for a great term for this. But the closest term that I can come up with for this is customer service.
Yeah.
You know, we're not really customers, we're neighbors, you know, but it's like neighborly service doesn't sound right. But I think that we've got a lot of improvement to do in that space. Thank you for having grace with these folks, because I know that they've got a tremendous pressure that they're trying to manage as well, and they don't always get it right. And I appreciate you still trying to work within that even when it seems hopeless and very frustrating at the time. We are trying to stand up a blended learning program as part of the home and hospital program for medically fragile students. What I will tell you about home and hospital and why it has limitations is because it's designed to be short-term. Yes. And that's not very effective for kids who have chronic conditions or kids who have long-term care and need long-term care. And they need something that is a little bit more robust and a little bit more rigorous so that they can still maintain the same momentum with their education and not receive some kind of interruption, or I don't want to say busy work, because that's the wrong thing. And home and hospital doesn't do busy work, but they're not providing the educational continuity that a full schedule's worth. And in fairness to a lot of our kids who are in home and hospital, they can't take a full schedule's worth of courses, and that's very, very appropriate for the circumstance. What we are trying to launch in the second 9 weeks is something that is a little bit more robust for kids that can have it. It will not be as full-blown as MVA, and it certainly will be expanded to allow for more long-term conditions and a little bit wider net. But it will be focused on those that have some medical fragility, because it's what we could afford to stand up. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Wow. Guess
Thank
what,
you.
team? Thank you so much. Thank you. She did a great job. We made it an hour and a half. I asked for an hour of your time. You gave me an hour and a half. That's a 50% improvement. I really appreciate that. I hope that this is an opportunity amongst a whole host of other things to get to know me a little bit better, and know that even if you look close, there's no horns in there, and I don't have a tail or anything along those lines. I'm just a guy who wants to help our kids. I will say that it is hard when folks do want to call and get a hold of me, because we're working with a lot of different schools and a lot of different kids, and that may be a challenge. Email is usually the best, and I'm not super timely or responsive on email, and I apologize for that, but I do make sure I get back to somebody. If I pass somebody off to somebody, don't take offense to it, because I want to connect you with the person who can help you best and try to solve problems at the lowest possible level. And even if that's the classroom or the principal, I even often ask in email responses, have you had a chance to talk to the principal about this? Because oftentimes the principal is the best person to answer questions. I do hope that we get a chance to interact, and that we get a chance to get to know one another a little bit better. I owe so much to Montgomery County, because it really is a great place, and I believe that Montgomery County can be great. I think that we've got all the ingredients to make Montgomery County a really great place to live, work, and learn. And I just know that you're a big part of that ingredient. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for giving up dinner time to spend time with me.